Karim Hyatt.
Host of Marriage in a Minute. Tune in every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. right here on Omega Radio Broadcasting Network for encouraging words on marriage.
And listen, guys, check out our new website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. And remember, you are the MVP in your marriage.
From this moment.
All right, Omega Radio listeners, coming to you now, we have none other than the Hyatts, Karim and Michelle Hyatt, coming to you for this segment of Marriage in a Minute. We ask that you go ahead and stay tuned in, stay locked in. The next voices you'll be hearing are the Hyatts right here on Omega Radio. Over to you.
Hola. Hello. I know, I'm a little bit Spanish today. Hello, buenas. Something. Good something. Anyway. It is 3:30 and it is Saturday, and welcome to Marriage in a Minute. Of course, I have my husband here, Karim Hyatt, author of Staying Married, Becoming One Flesh. Does that sound pretty okay? I usually get tongue-tied. There's nothing Freudian about it or anything. I don't know why. But anyway, we are on vacation.
Vacation mode.
We go back to work on Mondays, so we had a great week. We were in the Keys, which is like our favorite place to be. We fished. I
feel like
we ate.
I feel like I'm still in the Keys.
Yeah.
This
I don't know.
mode.
No, work is in 2 days, so I'm trying to manage being in vacation mode and headed back to work, but I'm still enjoying, which is absolutely wonderful. But anyway, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking, only because we've been talking to families about what's been affecting them. So we've been talking about in-laws. In-laws seems to get a bad rap.
You can't get off this
You
topic.
can't get off. But anyway, my husband was talking to a buddy of his, and they were talking about just giving advice on blended families. And we know marriage by itself has its own with your own children that were birthed from that marriage. Everything can be a challenge in life, but marrying, if you've got kids and you're marrying, did you want to say something else before we got started?
No, go ahead.
I got the green light. So if you are marrying someone, if you've got children and you're marrying someone with children,
Married with children.
Yeah, married with children. So that's a blended family, y'all. And that can be, it can be wonderful. Let's talk about the good part, right? So let's just say you're a woman with 2 kids. You're marrying a man with 2 kids. The great thing about it, the Bible say every child, right, is a gift from God. Did it say something about that? Being a gift from God. Or every good thing is a gift from God, something like that. But just think about you with your 2 good gifts, this man with his 2 good gifts, and now you guys are getting married, and now you're a blended family. And now we're thinking, how does that impact your marriage? And like I said, my husband was talking to a buddy of his, and they were talking about it because that comes with a different set of
It's
I don't know.
It's a very challenging.
It can be challenging.
Marriage on its own is
Yeah.
a challenge. It's sacrificial, but just picture, one spouse has kids, the other spouse has kids from a prior marriage, and they come together now, with kids that are
With
not yours,
issues,
so to
with-
speak.
Wow.
For lack of a
So
better word.
yeah.
We're going to go into, a deeper
Yeah.
part of it to explain how you overcome the challenges, but it's a challenge.
Yeah. And there was a movie, a very, very old movie called Yours, Mine, and Ours. So I think we're talking about like maybe 18 or 20 kids in that mix. So let's not do the 18, 20, but let's look at the 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
Because if you were married before and you've had 2 or 3, now you're married again or getting married, and there are children in the mix of both. So we're talking about 2 sets of ex, right? And, well, not really. Just one set of ex-husband and an ex-wife and kids from that marriage. Like, how do you blend? What are your thought process? And as we were talking about the mindset I think the right thing would be, and we talked about the word communication, that
Well,
there had better be lots and lots of communication back and forth of how things would work. But you can communicate about how things would work until you get into the marriage and see how things are working.
yeah, there are a lot of issues that come out in a situation like that. A lot of challenges, and a couple of them we came up with, and we're gonna talk about these challenges and how to overcome them. There's one way you're gonna overcome these challenges, and some of the challenges that we talked about is overpriced gifts, for example.
Yeah.
One parent or one spouse is used to giving their
Giving
children,
an enormous gift.
yes, at certain times of the year, and then another. And these things seem simpler, sound like small things, but they mount up to big problems because the other parent or the other spouse may have a different outlook on rewarding a child, for example, or giving a gift to a child, or
Yeah.
even disciplining the child.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So-
And punishment, just different styles. Now you guys are blending, and who disciplines the kids? Do you want your wife to be disciplining her kids, and I think when we were talking about that, and as like I said, my O'Neill's friend was just chit-chatting with him about some of the issues he's facing in his marriage. I think one of the biggest thing is these kids must become your kids. If you're not going to look at these are my kids, because now they're an extension of your husband or your wife. So if you love your husband, you have to love the children.
Yeah.
And
That's
if you don't look at them as mine and it's our kids, there's going to be an issue.
Yeah, so the mindset has to shift to, the minute you start thinking about, I start thinking about Michelle's kid as her kid, and she start thinking about mine as my kid. That's the mistake. It's automatically your kid still,
Right.
even though it's not my biological kid, we are married, so we become one. The children are also ours.
Correct.
Not mine and yours, it's ours. Just like your cars, it's ours. It's not one owning one and I'm owning the other. It's ours.
It might be the one that you drive, but it's still in the
ours.
family,
Yes.
right?
So these are the things that mount up to problems when you think about it in a separation kind of mindset.
Right.
It creates problems with schooling. One parent might or one spouse might tolerate a certain grade, the other parent or spouse is
Pushing for an
pushing
A.
for a higher grade, and
Yeah.
then that becomes a problem in your marriage.
Yeah.
You're arguing over the grade. How do you discipline the child, or how do you encourage them? How do you are you discouraging them?
Yeah.
Are you it's so many
And
different things.
Yeah, and don't forget all these things that we're talking about. Don't forget that there's a mom and a dad on the side with their input now in your home.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. When I was growing up, I had to have chores. I had to, my night to wash the dishes. We had a method to the madness, put it that way. Each one of us had a night that we had to take on certain chores. Some families, they don't do it that way.
Right.
So now when you come together with a blended family, that can also create a problem.
Right.
It becomes an argument. Why?
Because
are you
what
pushing-
if your kids never done a chore in their whole life? Now your new spouse is saying, no, we got to have chores.
Right.
So now the kids are mad. They're mad at dad because there was no chore, or mom. And now the new spouse is saying, no, you live here. We've got to all do chores. So now there's a little bit of an upset. And now the kids are mad at the parent because you're taking his side. And, but there are ways. Again, our big thing about this week is about communication and being on one page, being on the same page with your spouse, because these things can separate you.
Yeah. It's so many different.
There are a million. We just
Another one is, which is a big one, is spanking.
ooh.
Some parents, I used to get a spanking when I was growing up. If I'm out of line, some parents are
He
choosing
still get a
not to.
spanking, yeah. Okay.
Some parents choose to tell the kid go in the corner, or
Right.
grounding them, or
Yeah.
So if I'm used to that and Michelle is used to the grounding method, we have to come to a common ground and
Yeah.
how we're gonna treat the kids in terms of disciplining them, and that can create a problem too.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to communication. Talking about it. Before you get together and while you're together, because it's gonna come up.
You
So,
you mentioned something earlier about chores. What about allowance?
oh,
Like there are some parents, they just give $25 every week to a child, and the other parent, new parent in the family now saying no. Your allowance is based on how many chores you get completed, your grades, whatever. What if you didn't have that before? So
exactly,
now that becomes a rub in the family. So again, these are things we're saying if you're getting involved in where there are going to be kids, your kids, her kids, make sure you communicate all these. They matter.
Yeah.
And like we said, we're just pulling, just from talking to my husband's friend, we're just pulling a few things. There could be a million things. The idea is you've got to be able to express your thoughts, your feelings, and how you feel and what is right for the marriage, and not an emotional response
Yeah.
to your kid because you feel like your biological kid is crying
Yeah.
in the marriage, but really find out from your spouse, hey, what's happening here? Help me to understand. So again, it's really about communicating these possible pitfalls that you don't walk in and running around on a minefield, like everything you do could become like a huge problem. And one thing too we talked about in communicating is getting the entire family, the exes, the kids, everyone's got to be seated at a table, and we're going to talk about this. Like, look, I'm going to discipline your kid. I'm going to do it in love because now this child is my child. But there's got to be love, and love must be there before you can discipline.
Yeah. When an expectation is set beforehand, it puts everybody else's mind at ease, and it makes it work easier because you're talking about it before. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we expect. This is my expectation. This is how I'm used to doing things. It's so many different things, and the thing is that the wrong thing to do is pushing it under the rug
Yeah.
and not talking about it, because when it blows up, it's too late. So that's the answer. Communicating before, we're dating, for example, this is how I'm used to, this is what I'm used to. What about you? And especially if we have kids from another marriage, it's going to create a problem. So talking about it before
And making
while
it not a
it's-
problem,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Resolution comes when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Resolution does not come when you just see it happening and just don't speak about it, because love communicates. If you're just sitting there and not saying anything and don't talk about it, then resentment is going to build up over time, and then you blow up, and next thing you know, you're going into a second divorce. So
Yeah.
the key thing to do that we're suggesting and encouraging is communicate.
And one other thought process we had was, now that we used the number 4, so now there are 4 kids in the relationship, right? And you've got extracurricular activities. Everyone's got a day when they've got basketball, I don't know, whatever, baseball, swimming, whatever. That's 4 days out of the week that you're really not together, because after school, you might be taking this kid, that kid, whatever.
Yeah.
If you do it together, it shows support to that child, that you're in agreement, you're with the move, we're with you in sports, so everyone gets a turn. So at least you get a little bit of time watching, seeing, learning that child that's now in your family, that you can even coach or speak with if they've got a bad day. You're there to be a part of that in the mix of it. So again, before you walk into a situation with a blended family where you're going to marry someone with children, communicate, have meetings, many meetings.
Yeah. Talk to each other.
Yeah.
Exes don't have to be enemies, put it that
Right.
way.
Right.
Just for the sake of the peace.
Yeah.
Bible says, seek peace and you'll find it. So communication is a way of creating a peaceful atmosphere in the home and in the marriage. All right, guys. So we're at the end of our program. I hope you're encouraged, and I hope this helps
Yeah.
many of you out there who are experiencing that type of blended family. You know, some are not, some are. So it happens. This is life. All right. So there's a solution to everything. So thank you guys for listening in. Join us next Saturday on Omega Radio Broadcasting Network for Marriage in a Minute. Check our website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. Check our YouTube channel, Marriage in a Minute. God bless you
Marriage
guys.
in a Minute, YouTube.
From this moment.
Hey, radio listeners, this is Michelle Hyatt,
And this is Karim Hyatt.
host of Marriage in a Minute. Tune in every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. right here on Omega Radio Broadcasting Network for encouraging words on marriage.
And listen, guys, check out our new website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. And remember, you are the MVP in your marriage.
From this moment.
You are just tuned into your hosts, Karim and Michelle Hyatt, with Marriage in a Minute, right here on the Station of the Stars. You can catch them here every Saturday from 3:30 to 3:45. Keep it locked in and don't touch the dial.
Me preach God gospel. Ah, yeah, cause look here how a lady shapey. Full up a shape. If you stay in a sin over a period of time, you lose all your shape. And the guy them top call to you. What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus.